Alright, what's up everyone? Sean here. Welcome to the first video on my channel. I'm going to be going over this massive Miro board that I made you guys, breaking down an insane reselling strategy I personally use. It took me from making $13 an hour to making over 20 to 30K a month consistently across 2 years. I'm going to show you exactly how I do it and how you can do the same and make a shit ton of money as well. Let's get right into it. Starting out, we got pictures of me from high school, freshman, sophomore, and senior. Fast forward, bought myself my dream car, C8, and last month, September, made over 53,000, and that is straight profit going into my pockets, not just revenue. So yeah, let's show you exactly how I do it and how you can do the same. So starting point here, 18 years old. This is when honestly, let's rewind a little bit, back to my very first job at Tilly's. I was 17, it's a clothing store. That's where I was making $13 an hour at, just selling clothes. And honestly, it wasn't too bad at the time. I, liked the clothes that they sold. I got discounts. People worked there were the same age as me. I just was broke and didn't make any money at all. However, it did teach me certain skills like sales, made me more comfortable and sociable talking to people. But yeah, that was my very first job. I worked there for about a year, and then I got this job here working in the utilities. I was spray painting the lines underground. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the graffiti on the road. That's what I was doing. It's just constantly hot in Arizona, 100 degrees, and I worked there in the summer for about 8 months. I hated it. I was miserable, thinking there's no way, I need to figure something else out. And I knew I couldn't keep on doing this. Coming home, dirty, tired, and I was making decent money. I think I started out at $18 an hour, but it wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth trading my health for, a little bit of money. I looked around, I seen the older guys that were, 40, 50 years old, doing the same exact thing as me, making the same exact amount of money as me. And I just thought that couldn't be me. I didn't want that to be me. And I needed to figure something else out. Now let's get into the mindset and realization here. This is honestly where everything changed. I was 18, no clue how to make any money besides clocking in. And this is where everything began. This is honestly the most important step, the first step. Like I said, I looked around, seen the older guys in the same exact position as me, and I just knew I didn't want to be stuck in the same place, stagnant forever. That voice got louder and louder every single day, and I got more intrigued in figuring out a plan and a strategy. But yeah, this is the first step towards reselling. This was when the idea was planted that I needed to figure something else out. I needed to do something with my life, and I couldn't just stay here forever. Now we got early struggles, 2022, financial stress. I had no savings, no real plan. I would try to save sometimes, but I just didn't make a lot of money, and I liked spending it on dumb stuff. So I always felt like I was behind and I couldn't catch up. And if you feel like that now, I get it, bro, I promise. I was literally in the same position. Look at this, $11 in my bank account. I was broke. I didn't have anything. I just remember thinking I could not keep on living like this. So that's when the research obsession really started kicking in, and I really got obsessed with this whole entrepreneurship and trying to figure out my own thing. I remember looking at certain people that, in my opinion, were a lot dumber than me, but for some reason had figured it out. I was thinking if they could do it, there's no reason that I can't. Let's get into outside pressure here. And honestly, this is something that you're probably going to have to deal with, and a lot of people do when they're first starting this kind of stuff out. Friends are all enrolling into college and figuring their lives out, or it looks like, and everyone's playing it safe. Your family is telling you, try to start a career, go to college, get a degree, whatever. People think you're delusional, they don't believe in you, and I could feel people doubting me. I could feel like, and it wasn't in a hateful way, but they just didn't believe, and that pressure is what lit a fire and kept me motivated to prove everyone else wrong and show them that I really could do it. But you'll learn to stop talking about it, stop telling people about it, and just do it. And that's what you got to do. Let's go next one. Turning point, discovery moment. This is when I discovered reselling and content online. I saw people making 10, 20K months from flipping, and I was like, wait, how are people making this much? There's no way. This looks way too easy. This was way before, honestly, like reselling was a trend and blew up all over TikTok and stuff. But I came across this video, so I really started doing my research and diving deeper into it. I was spending hours on YouTube, forums, Telegram groups, learning about the different vendors. Like I said, it was way different back then. You had to buy from agents, and it was a lot sketchier, a lot harder, and a lot riskier. But I wanted to figure it out, so I became obsessed with research and learning it. And that honesty is what separated me. Most people talk about it, say they want to get into something, and then a week later they forget about it. I really stayed consistent and wanted to figure this out. And so I kept on researching and learning more until I really thought I had a good understanding and a solid game plan. That's when I ordered my first test order. This is literally my very first order, AirPods and belts. And I literally sold out of everything within like the first week of getting it. Made like a few hundred profit. And that tiny win is honestly what changed everything. If that would have taken a long time to sell or it didn't go good, I probably would have just, scrapped it and not kept on doing it. But the fact that I sold them all within a week, made a few $100, I realized if I scaled this, if I stayed consistent, I could really turn this into something. Started researching more, figuring out what other products there are that would be good and have bigger profit margins. So now, early 2023, this is when I was, just a little bit into reselling. I was still working my job, but I couldn't stop thinking about, reselling more stuff and scaling it up and eventually being able to quit this job. But reselling at this point honestly just felt like a hobby. Buying a lot of stuff just for myself. I was working my job still, balancing my job and this side hustle. But like I said, it was honestly just a hobby at this point still. Just a little side hustle, nothing more. No thought of making 500K a year from this, just extra money. But then one day everything changed. I really started trying to scale this up. I turned it up a little bit and really wanted to turn this into a business and not a hobby anymore. I wanted to quit my job and just do this because I realized I can actually make a lot of money doing this. Let's get on to the next one, scaling up. 2023, when I really started taking it serious. It was going really well, but I realized if I wanted to make more money and really turn this into something, I had to go bigger. I had to start ordering more and ordering in bulk. And that's when orders really started moving and I really started turning this into a real business and not just a side hustle anymore. You can see here, this is one customer. That's when I realized becoming a supplier for other resellers is how I can sell bulk. Because if you can sell one guy 30 pieces, that is saving you so much time, energy. Even if you're not making as much as you would have sold if you would have sold them all individually to separate people, you're making it way quicker than if you were to do it that way. And you're still making money on top of it. So this is the route that I really wanted to start taking, is trying to become a supplier for other resellers. That worked out really well for me. I was selling so much more inventory and it allowed me to scale a lot faster. And this is how I built momentum, is not chasing quick wins, but actually reinvesting everything back in and allowing it to scale up and compound. Starting out with, you say $500, you turn that into $1,500. You take all that $1,500 and put it back in. You can turn that into 3K. Take that 3K, put it back in, turn it into 6K. Take that 6K, put it all back in, turn it into 12K. Take that 12K, put it all back in, turn it into 25K. Take that 25K, put it all back in, turn it into 50K. The results just keep on getting bigger and bigger. You just have to stay with it and stay disciplined for long enough. That's what I realized at a very early point. And so I reinvested literally every last dollar. And that's what allowed me to scale so much faster than a lot of other people, even though I didn't have a lot starting out. I literally started out with like $300. I realized I need to continue reinvesting if I want to keep on growing and scaling. Moving on to the next point here, turning commitment. I quit my job. I decided to go head first into the deep end. So I quit, went all in, and that was honestly the best decision I made. You have to take the risk. You're just going to stay stagnant if you don't. So move on to the next point here. Reinvesting my profits, scaling up. So you can see here, sending one of the vendors a little over $8,000. I was taking, like I said, literally every last dollar, put them back into bulk orders, no splurging, no treating myself. I was reinvesting everything. And that discipline is what allowed me to grow everything and scale everything faster than other people do. And bigger vendor orders, I was building better relationships with vendors. I was becoming more of a priority customer. That helped a lot with negotiating better prices. It's like a win-win scenario for everyone. They don't want to lose you as a priority customer, so they're going to help you out as much as they can. And that's why you want to stay consistent with the vendors. You don't want to constantly switch it up. Find good, solid vendors and stay consistent with those, grow with those. You know, you don't want to cut off a vendor unless you absolutely have to. If they don't give you good service, if they mess something up too many times or don't want to help you out and fix the problem, then you know it's probably best to find someone else. But here we got my first big month. You can see 15K here in my bank account. Making this in just a single month and realizing, like, if I would have stayed at any of the past jobs, there's no way I would be here today. I wouldn't, you know, it would take 3 to 4 months at one of my old jobs to make this. Even the first job at Tilly's, it would have taken an entire year to make this. So making it in a single month, it was just a really big eye opener for me. Like I said, I wasn't special, I wasn't lucky, I was just consistent and disciplined, and that's what allowed me to hit these results. You just have to stay consistent long enough for it to work out. Building systems, everyone that had bought something before, I would follow up with them, seeing if they were interested in anything. I was starting to build spreadsheets, labeling things, getting shelves, as you can see behind me. And that's when I really started treating it like an operation and a real business. And that structure is what changed it from just a side hustle to an actual business and allowed me to scale faster and grow faster, because it's not about just getting new products. That is part of it, staying up to date with the trends, but it's about creating repeatable processes that you can continue to apply over and over and over, no matter what the product is. So that way you ensure you can continue scaling and growing consistently. So getting on to the next one, proof of lifestyle. And this is when I finally started to see it actually paying off. I was able to spend more money on myself and splurge a little bit. I was able to take my family out to dinner and actually have some sort of financial freedom. And this is when I started planning, scaling to actually make 500K in a year and planning for that. And I knew I could get there. It was just a matter of time and staying disciplined and consistent for long enough. So let's get right into the next one here. The grind and setbacks, packaging marathon. People think this kind of stuff is just, you know, easy, but I would argue that starting this kind of stuff out is harder than working a job. You know, you work a job, you go in, someone tells you everything to do in that day, and you just have to follow instructions. With this kind of stuff, you have to figure it out on your own. You have to make your own instructions, and you have to hold yourself accountable. You don't have a boss over your shoulder making sure that you get that stuff done. You're the one making sure that you get that stuff done, and it's a lot easier to slip up when you don't have that. So you have to be holding yourself accountable. It does get very mentally draining, and there's going to be times that you want to quit. There's going to be times that you want to give up. But if you can stay consistent and push through these hard times, that's what builds you to be the type of person that you need for this. You know, there's a reason not everyone can do it. Not everyone has the willpower or the motivation to keep on going. You have to have that if you want to succeed in something like this. And moving on to the next point here, refunds and returns, building refunds policies and keeping proof photos for when people do try. You're going to want to get photos of condition and the package before you send it out. So that way when people do try to scam and fake refund, you have proof that can, you know, dispute those. Yeah, moving on to account bans here. And this is something you are definitely going to have to deal with. Facebook Marketplace, eBay, Depop. You're going to get banned on some of these most of the time. Most of the time, all of them at some point. But it's best to keep multiple accounts and spread sales across all of the accounts. It's not the end of the world. You know, you can make a new account and start up again. But that's why it's good to have like social platforms or Telegram groups or Discord channel, or at least a spreadsheet of everyone's information. So that way, like I said, you do get banned or taken down, you don't lose access to that information. But vendor fails, orders being delayed for weeks, vendors messing up and sending wrong colors and sizes, losing money on batches that can't be sold, or, you know, stuff doesn't even come in. You're going to get these things occasionally. You want to be holding your vendors accountable, like I said before. If they do fix the problem, that's a different story. But if they don't, you want to cut them out. Don't deal with it. Don't deal with them anymore. Just move on. Find a better vendor. And if you guys do need help and you guys don't have any access to any vendors or don't know where to start, check my website out. I'll link it in the description. I have all my vendors on there that I've personally used and tested myself. And these are all the vendors that allow me the highest profit margins. And they're all great products that you guys can start out with. If you guys need that resource, it is there. So yeah, I'll leave that in the description for you. I have had packages go missing. Especially when I first started, I had a few packages go missing, losing literally thousands. When I first started, it hurt. Like, I could not afford to be losing thousands, you know. But back then it was a lot riskier, it was a lot different game. But I haven't had that happen in a while. I have good, solid vendors now that I've worked with for a long time, reputable, trusted, and they know what they're doing. So I haven't had any packages go missing in a very long time. But like I said, when I did first start, it did happen and it hurt. So yeah, if you guys need that resource, get the vendor. I'd much rather spend $10 on a vendor that I'm sure of than taking that risk that I get scammed for a few $100s, you know? So mental burnout, this is something you're going to deal with. I kind of talked about it before, especially if you're working a job and doing this. It is definitely possible. I was working like 50, 60 hours a week while I was doing this. It's worth it on the other side, I promise. Let's get on to the next one. Payoff, the $500,000 year. I hit 500,000 in a single year, first starting out with $300 to 5K months to 20K months to 50K months. Eventually, 500,000 in one single year. What used to take 2 years at a job, I can now make in a single month. It was really big eye opener. I didn't think this was real life. I didn't think this was possible, you know. And like I said, I'm not special. You just have to have the discipline and the consistency. The cars, Corvette C8 and a BMW. I wanted a car like this so bad. When I say this was my dream car, I mean this was my dream car. Like before I even started reselling, I was scrolling pictures of this car, breaking my neck when I would look at one, just thinking I want to have one of those one day. Didn't know how to do it. That makes me think if you have these goals and dreams, it's not for no reason. God doesn't give you these thoughts and dreams and goals if you're not able to do it. So if you have these goals and dreams, it's a reason and you can get there. But once I started actually realizing that, you know, it was a very possible reality that I get one of these soon, I started realizing it wasn't just about the car. The goal wasn't just in the car itself, it was becoming that person, this version of myself. But yeah, let's get on to the next one here. So, lifestyle freedom, no more 10-hour shifts in the sun, no more working for someone else. Now you can actually splurge a little bit, invest into your hobbies, travel, all the stuff that comes with financial freedom you're finally getting to enjoy. Now imagine the version of you probably has everything that you want. Imagine the hobbies and the actions and the routines that they would have. Try to become that version of yourself. You know, build those habits, build that discipline, daily action. Show up like them and the results will follow. Everything else will fall into place. But yeah, the real freedom isn't just money. It's about control of your time and your choices and who you are as a person. That's real freedom. Let's get on to the next one. So this is when we really start getting into it. Advice for beginners and what I would do differently if I was going to be restarting this with the information that I knew now. So I'm literally giving you guys the blueprint for free, handing it right to you, literally giving you guys the past 2 years of all the mistakes and trial and error that I went through. And if you guys apply these things before you even start, it's going to be pretty hard for you to fail. You don't want to try to go in all right away. You don't want to just, you know, jump right in ordering big bulk. You want to test different products in different batches, seeing what works best for you in your area, what has the highest profit margins, what sells the fastest. Like I said before, you just need to figure out good repeatable processes you can apply to different products across the board. So figure that out, figure the processes out, figure what products are the best, and then you start to scale. But yeah, right here, vendor relationships. So this is very important, like I was saying before. Continuing to work with bad vendors are going to cost you more than they're ever going to save you. And that's why if you deal with a few things a few times from the same vendor, they're not willing to help you or fix it, just cut them out. The best deals and reliability are going to come from trust, building up with that vendor, and growing, becoming a priority customer. That's going to go a long way. So that's why I said stay consistent with your vendors, not just constantly switching it up unless you absolutely have to. And that's going to go a long way. Next here, you want to prepare yourself for problems like refunds, scams, and account bans, because most of the time, or at least eventually, it's going to happen at least once. Prepare yourself, be ready in the worst case, in case it does. Always keeping backup accounts for the different apps, keeping those spreadsheets or those different groups, keeping spare inventory and extra vendors. Just like I said, prepare for it in case it happens. Don't think about losses and failures bad, because your failures and your losses usually teach you a lot more than your wins. Let's move on to the next one. Discipline over flex. Now, don't blow your bag on dumb stuff, clothes, trips, whatever. You want to be reinvesting everything, staying disciplined, and that's what really creates that long-term freedom, like I was talking about earlier. Everyone wants results, but no one wants to stay disciplined. Everyone just wants it to fall into their lap. They don't want to go through the hard times and actually put in that work. So if you continue to stay consistent and keep on going, even when sometimes it seems like it's not working, and that's what's going to separate you from the majority of people that fail. Because let me tell you, when I first started making a little bit of money, I was very tempted to start splurging and, flexing, showing off, acting like I was rich before I really was. Most people fail because they start splurging and trying to act rich. It's a saying, don't go broke trying to look rich for Instagram. Yeah, anyone can do this. I wasn't special. Like I've said a lot of times throughout this, literally a normal, dumb kid in high school. I just stayed disciplined and consistent for long enough. And that's all it takes. Let's go on to the next one. How you can start your first steps into reselling. Now, people overcomplicate it. You don't need some crazy setup. You don't need to know everything. You just need to start. Start selling stuff that you already have at home. Learning the markets, figuring out what's popular in your areas. You just have to start dipping your toes in the water a little bit, figuring out a good solid plan, and actually doing it. So the very first step, obviously, you need a vendor to actually get the stuff. The vendors I use are on my site, like I said before, it's linked below. It's a good shortcut if you don't want to spend time, going through that trial and error, testing different vendors. It has the best quality with the cheapest prices for the best profit margins. If you just want to skip all that, just go check the vendors out on my site. It's like 10, 20 bucks, 50 bucks for the entire bundle. You get access to literally every single vendor you could possibly need. You're not going to ever need to research or find another vendor ever again. So, like I said, it's very worth it. Once you get those vendors, place a small test order. Don't jump into bulk just yet. You want to find a niche and learn that market. Figure out what products are the best in your area, what sells the fastest, what gives you the best profit margins. And once you figure this out, you have a good solid game plan. Then you can start scaling and really trying to grow. But figure out a niche first. Figure out a good set of products, whether it be clothing, sneakers, electronics. So yeah, list and sell. Use platforms like Facebook Marketplace, Depop, OfferUp, Mercari. Any of these apps are good. Any of the local selling apps, eBay. Take clean photos, write honest descriptions, and don't worry about perfection yet. Just get the first listing up. Like I said, just start, even if it's something that you have in your closet. Now, I recommend posting on all the apps, going on every single one, and making an account and putting your listings up on, put all the products up on every single one. That's how you're going to maximize sales and grow the fastest. Making sure you're taking the best possible professional photos, good clear descriptions. You can even use ChatGPT to build your descriptions. Like I said, the first step is the most important and usually the hardest. Now, one of the most important things, reinvesting your profits. Taking money from the first flips, reinvesting it into more inventory. Literally, like I said before, taking almost everything and putting it back in. You have to understand this before you even get into it, because you're going to have the temptation to splurge. You're going to want to start spending your money, especially when you start making a little bit. But if you understand how the compounding effect works, and if you really invest everything back in, you're going to grow and scale so much faster. And that's what separates short-term winners to actually building a business and long-term success and freedom. Being patient and consistent. Your first few months might be a little slow. You might not feel like you're making as much as you'd like, or it's not coming as fast as you'd like. Remember, your small flips are going to lead to big flips. As you can see here, $3,500 from a single sale. Your customers are continue to grow with you. They're going to start scaling up their inventory and ordering more and more. So yeah, let's get on to the next one. So make sure you subscribe and follow if you guys got any value from this whatsoever. If you enjoyed this, you're going to love what's to come. I'm going to be posting a lot more on here. I know this is my first video, giving you guys literally everything I've learned with reselling, all the mistakes, all the things that I had to learn through trial and error. I also have a lot more on my Instagram. If you guys want to see any of the behind the scenes and stuff like that, make sure you go follow there as well. But yeah, this is just the beginning. Like I said, there's going to be a lot more to come. I'm dropping an entire step-by-step full course teaching you literally everything, all the mistakes that I made, everything that I had to learn through trial and error the past years doing this. I'm going to be breaking down the sourcing, pricing, marketing, the systems, literally everything. I'll be posting it here within like the next week or two. Make sure you turn on notifications so you're ready as soon as it drops. I promise you're not going to want to miss it. I started from zero, literally $13 an hour, dumb kid in high school. Like I said, I wasn't special, but I managed to scale past 6 figures in a single year online, buying my dream car at a young age and living this life that I could have only dreamed about when I first started. So if you've been thinking about starting this, take this as your sign, because you don't need it all figured out. You don't need to know all the ins and outs. You just need to start and dip your toes in, take that first step. And that is what separates you from a lot of people already. The fact that you actually took action and began and started doing the things that you say you want to do. And I'm literally handing you the roadmap for completely free. All the tools and information that you could possibly need to win in this, I'm giving you. But you have to do the other half of that and actually put in the work and do the things. But if you do, I promise it'll be worth it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.